Thankfully, I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be healing, and we practiced healing on Monday.
I didn't practice tanking today.
And then we're going to be healing on WoW. And I practiced healing on WoW on Tuesday, which went marginally fine. I can tell you my raid frames cannot stay like that. It was not great. It was not great.
But yeah, guys,
right.
I don't know if
how do I party with you? Party finder? I don't even know if we're friends.
I don't have any room on my friends list, unfortunately. But I can run over to Sarg quick, and then if you just want to like find me.
Sure. What Aetherite? Limsa?
Yeah. Well, you can player search me. So like I'll swap over to Sarg,
okay.
And then you can just player search me once I swap over.
Okay.
You don't even have to move.
Are these new alts? I played this character, so I played this character to level 30 so that we had a healer for PvP, and then I got to level 42 just from PvP, so I had like nothing on the bar. So I don't have all my jobs leveled, so it's new for me on my original character. I just only tank as the pig. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do for healer glam. Right now, you're just seeing whatever gear I have equipped. So sometimes it looks a little crazy, and other times it looks more cohesive. That's just luck.
Yeah. All right, so I'm over.
I've had this lovely bikini for like 10 levels.
What?
Yeah, I got a little. I'm a cat girl. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, everybody talks trash about cat girls, and they're like, "Chris plays a pig," and they're like, "Yeah, I can't believe people play cat girls." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's totally insane."
Yeah, cat girls are the dumb.
And I'm a cat girl.
I'm totally not a cat girl.
Finally, good transmog. Thank you, Sword Art. I like my pig. I got an ugly duckling this week. As a minion, it follows me around. All right, so what's your character name?
Xandrii.
That wasn't taken?
No.
Okay.
So it should come up as Xandrii Forsaken, but it's the same as my Twitch. Alright, so for anyone who doesn't know, what we're doing, and what I'd mentioned earlier, is that Chris and I are both going to, well, I'm going to tank and he's going to heal for a dungeon or two in 14, some of the starting ones, and then we're going to swap over to WoW and do the same thing for those, and kind of like compare and contrast them. And I don't know, is his video synced up with his voice right now in my stream? It's okay if it's
Probably
not, but you can at least kind of like see him. Hey Ishtar, what's up? Now you're a pretty dragon boy? That's nice. But okay.
Alright.
Your name is Jane Doe.
Yeah, so Brian, when I joined over, when I came over from WoW, he said, you have to have a first and last name. And I was like, oh, okay, so I can't have my WoW name because I don't have a last name. And but I played EVE Online, and in EVE Online you have a first and last name, and I played as Jane Doe. And the reason I did is I was told, A, you want a female name. I was like, all right, I just accepted that. It's like, okay. And B, you want a name that is somewhere in the middle of the alphabet, because you used to target ships in big combat, and people would oftentimes just target what's easiest, and it'd be alphabetical, so A to Z or Z to A. And so you want to be in the middle of the alphabet so that you don't get targeted. And so they were like, I didn't really ask questions about why the female name was, and I was like, that's fine. And I was like, all right, John Doe, Jane Doe, done, Jane Doe. And then when I came over to 14, I just carried it with me, not knowing that like Brian and his wife both have the last name Zalazar, and I came over to play with them, and I was like, I could have the last name Zalazar. It could have been like a family relation.
That would have been awesome.
I could have kept my WoW name and then just added the last name Zalazar. I had no idea.
Yeah, see, that would have been great. And then for like every single one of his kids that he's having like with, have characters on 14, they could all be Zalazar too. So there'd be like 10 of you guys.
I forgot Limsa's where you go to for RMT. I never come here.
Sorry.
And like immediately,
Limsa's
like 2 seconds
main.
in. The reason the RMT ban is a right-click ban is because Yoshi P said RMT's not that bad, and then he played on a live stream and went to a North American server and went to Limsa and got spammed.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. And he goes,
That's awesome.
What is this?
I mean, that's bad, but that's awesome.
Yeah, you just spammed the director of the whole game, and now we have right-click ban. Fixed it. Just like if you've ever shopped at Target and you wonder why they have such thick, nice bags, that is because the owner of Target, the president of Target at the time when they were like growing, went to Target to go shopping, walked out to his car, and his bag split open. And he said, never again.
Oh, man.
We'll just pay more for bags.
That actually happened to me recently with a bottle of beer.
All right. So guys, just for like a little bit of background, I played WoW from vanilla. I played a Horde Druid TBC. I played an Alliance Hunter Wrath. I went back to my Horde Druid and I played that all the way through late Pandaria. I quit, skipped Warlords of Draenor. Here I didn't miss much. Came back in Legion. Planned on, came back mid-Legion with the plan of kind of just catching up, getting back in the swing of things, and playing BFA because it's going to be amazing, because Legion's amazing. BFA was not amazing, so I spent BFA doing all the content that I feel like I missed over the years because I was busy raiding or whatever else. And I'm loving Shadowlands. And I've been playing 14 since A Realm Reborn, because when I stepped away from WoW, that was a logical place for me to put my time, and I came over here and I played every expansion. I'm just experiencing lore for the first time with Shadowbringers, and I'm now taking an alt through A Realm Reborn, because Shadowbringers was amazing, and I have questions, and I want to go back and get answers. That's me. Who are you, Xandrii?
Nice. So, essentially, I've been, well, WoW was my first MMO that I ever played. Actually, one of the first games that I ever played. And I started at the end of BC, like, early Wrath, and I was an altaholic, as you can tell still. And I didn't actually do anything max level until Mists, and I started like raid leading and guild leading for Siege of Org, and I actually did a lot for Mythic HFC as well in Warlords of Draenor, and I just kind of played like on and off, but I loved the lore, and I would always watch like novel videos and then try to compare things and actually read the quests when I played. And I took a break in Legion, and I decided to start playing 14 because it was actually suggested to me from one of my viewers, Gwydion, and I fell in love with it. And I have an awesome community that like keeps me interested in the game, and I actually started playing Shadowlands, and it was kind of like I was leveling after stream. So this is actually what I do like full time, like is content creating, and I play 14. And so it was kind of tough playing one MMO and then swapping over to another one, and it felt more like a job than actually playing. And so I'm hoping that by doing this, it'll kind of like reinvigorate my want to play WoW. So normally I main a mage, and I've barely ever tanked in WoW before. I did some like third tanking in Siege of Org for, I believe it was Shamans that you needed 3 tanks for so that you could do the mechanics correctly. You would tank one of them inside Honor Hold, and then move outside once like you could get rid of like some void zones and stuff. But yeah, so hopefully I'm gonna be tanking on a Dark Knight for 14 and then a Warrior for WoW, as long as everything still works correctly. I had to make sure I had a main hand. I like logged in earlier and I was like, okay, do I have a main hand? Like, do I have sword and board so I can actually do this? Like,
I hate that about relics. I hate that to upgrade your relic, you have to like, they're like, hey, give me your main hand. Yeah, but that's like what determines who I am. Like, I can't, can I give you something else? Like, I can't unequip this.
Yeah. Uh-oh, I'm being asked to properly introduce you to my chair, but guys,
Oh, I know the chair.
Chris has been in here.
I lurk and stream all the time, and anytime people aren't talking about the chair, I start talking about the chair.
Yeah, see?
It's like, no, why are we not talking about the chair? Is that your Amaro hatchling?
No.
Oh,
it's Awerba's Amaro hatchling. Yeah, nope, I don't have the hatchling.
I have initials on because I found that running so much group content, it's just a matter of time till I say something about people in my group. And it's important that I don't reveal their identities, because then I would very, very, very quickly be pushing up against terms of service. I'm not intending to try to trash anybody, but when dumb things happen in dungeons, I have a hard time not saying anything.
You can trash my tank skills, that's fine. Let's. We'll have
she's
to.
She's gonna report me, and then we're gonna get a 30-day ban.
I've never reported anyone. I don't even know how to blacklist people. Oh, thank you guys for the bits. Look at these nice pillows. I keep forgetting about
Honestly,
those.
RMT doesn't even bother me if it was in game, if they weren't actively spamming me. Like I don't personally care because it doesn't affect me. Like if somebody is farming the gold up in a legal way, whether it's being done as a job or not, and they've optimized it or not, it's not being done with a bot, and then they want to sell that gold for real money to a friend or whatever, like, hey, will you pay my subscription if I give you $1 million gold a month? That doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
It's when I'm getting spammed by all these like bots and stuff that it just becomes really distasteful really fast.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna get picked on for what I'm about to say, but I have a really easy time just ignoring stuff. So like, people always pick on me because I'll be paying attention to Twitch chat, but I'll be streaming at the same time and I'll have like other people in my party, and I'll just completely ignore party chat. People will be like, Zan, these are the mechanics, and then I'll get into a fight and I'll completely mess up on the mechanics. And people will be like, we told you in party, and I was like, oh, I didn't even see it. So like, I am really good at just ignoring things. So I just never, like, I don't even know how to blacklist. I have no idea. But that's just me.
It's definitely a thing. I have people on my blacklist, but it takes a lot to get there. It takes a lot to get there. How do I get chat back on stream?
I'm being told that you spam Nino's feed with videos, so you're just as much at fault.
If you've subscribed to my personal channel and you weren't looking to get videos from my personal channel, I am really sorry.
Oh my gosh, no, he's kidding.
I am posting twice a day right now. So like legitimately, like if anybody was like, hey, but Brian and I were actively asking for help to get to the first 1,000 subscribers because it unlocks features on YouTube of like how YouTube channels function. And so like we asked for help. If anybody was part of that, we're now well past that. If you know what, I get it. I'm so sorry. I spam a lot. It's so much posting. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Did we want to just do it with you and I and go into... Oh, never mind, just kidding.
We're doing it. We're tank healer. This is going to be instant.
Okay. I know. I just didn't know if you wanted...
There's no data code. We're just going to go. And it's going to be instant, and we're going to get random people, and it's going to be amazing.
Okay.
Make sure your tank stance is on.
I was getting there.
I'm just saying, when I go into low-level content, that's the first thing. I don't know why it falls off. I mean, I know why it falls off at a technical level. As a user, it doesn't feel good. All right, let's remember what we did here. So we got cure.
Don't heal yet.
Like,
wait.
Thankfully, in low-level content, like things are so friendly. Like mechanics really don't like hugely matter. Because like this is the oldest and earliest dungeon in 14 that you would come across. This is it. This is the one.
I have one AoE ability. This is not fun.
Yeah, it sinks. I don't know how I feel about sinking down. Like on one hand, there are advantages of it. I do. Like overall, I think sinking down is a bad thing. It protects the content kind of, but because we prune abilities over the years, you're not even get to run it. Like we would have had protect back then, and you don't have protected.
I think
so. Like you're not even running it as it was. You're running it in some weird form of what it was.
Right.
Oh, we're gonna check the memo.
So we're actually gonna know?
Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Nice.
I didn't read it, but hopefully they did.
I mean, they ran over to it. I usually just guess.
It's possible they didn't know what that meant, though, because they're thaumaturge.
I usually just guess.
Read it.
I'm not gonna lie. Like.
Oh yeah, just guess. Yeah. How do you feel about dungeons being 4-mans versus 5?
It's honestly like I thought it was weird at first, and I kind of like got picked on because I didn't know what a light party was at the time. But just the fact that it's only a difference in 1 DPS, it's not that odd to me. If it was like you had an extra healer or something, I'd probably be a little bit more like, this is weird, but it's not so bad. I totally didn't ask if you were cool with me pulling this much.
I mean, I only have the 1 heal, so, you know, as long as that heal seems powerful, we're good.
Sure.
I just really have, like, I have Cure 1, that's plan A, B, and C. There is no backup, other than, I have Swift Cast, Raise, I think, so, like, there's our backup plan.
Edge, I used Rampart, it's on cooldown. I'm waiting for it to come back up, my dude.
I'm not super good about optimizing which cooldowns I use. Like, when something happens and I'm like, a mechanic's incoming, I'm like, use a cooldown. And then I'm just using a cooldown. Like, I'm just now, like, getting better about, like, okay, this is group-wide, I should be using Shake It Off. Because it's way better. I did macro my stone so that it's target up my target, so it's yours.
Nice.
That's a big help. I'm trying to do this without mouse overhealing. I've always mouse overhealed in
That's what I do too, and I got picked on about it.
And people were like, no, you gotta try this.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I've always, like, I redid all of my stuff as mouse over macros, and everyone was like, I can't believe that you have everything as mouse over. And I was like, well, this is how I always healed, like, when I would do, like, arena in WoW. I always healed on a Holy Paladin, and this is how I would do it. And people were like, no, like, you should move your UI stuff, you should have everything hotkeyed, it's so much easier because it's more damage rather than healing. And I was like, oh, because I wasn't used to that unless I was playing like a freaking fisty monk and I was just fist weaving back in like Miss, when Mistweaver Monk was first a thing, or like on a Disc Priest.
When did you first get into WoW raiding? Like how long?
It was not until Siege of Ord. It wasn't until Miss for Siege, and the reason was I was in this guild. Hang on, let me grab these back. And I was really irritated because I joined to play with all of my friends that I hung out with at the time in high school, and everyone was like, well, you should play WoW with us. And I was like, no, like, that's not really my thing. Like, I've always just kind of played RPGs. Like, I actually started with Final Fantasy VII. And they were like, no, play with us. Like, join our guild and whatever. And so I did. And then they never did anything. I was so pissed. I was like, yeah, are we going to raid? Like, I heard raiding's fun. Are we going to PvP or whatever? And then they just, like, they never logged on. So I ended up creating my own guild because I was so irritated.
You didn't just join another one? You went off and like made your own?
No, I made my own because I was mad.
Alright, so what are the odds that somebody knows what color we're supposed to pull here?
I don't know.
I didn't read the book. I would take a 1 in 3 chance. That book that we pull off to the side, in case anybody has never known that, because they've just cleared this content, tells you, it has like a poem in it that has a color.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the community if you'd like to know. And yeah, I miss Fistweaver too, James. Thanks, buddy.
So mouse over in WoW comes from you have way more targets. You have 25 to 39 targets depending on when you got into healing, and so the 25 to 40, like and so it's a lot. And second of all, like, you have a shorter global cooldown, but you don't have anything off the global. So there's a rhythm to your actions because it's steadily at the global, as opposed to here, like, it's a constant weaving between this really slow, undulating global and then all these off the globals that slide in between to increase your actions per minute to something that's engaging. And so, like, what WoW results in is people become really reliant on spell queuing, which is where there's a gap at the end of one spell where if you cast it, the server will say, you know what, we don't know what your latency situation is. Maybe you're playing from like a postage stamp. It's fine. We'll just go ahead and store that as your next action. And so you get used to like anticipating the next action and kind of queuing it up. And you're always kind of queuing one spell into the future. And so with mouse over, it lets you change targets rapidly, and you're playing whack-a-mole as a healer, and so you're point shoot, and you're just assigning the correct heal to the correct target, moving on to the next one, and they're going off at this steady clip. Doesn't matter what kind of heal it is. And if there's a cast time to that, it adjusts that, but like, I played as druid healer, so it's a lot of instant healing. So it's like, it's just point and shoot every global, and so mouse over healing makes sense. This healing already feels way different. So, like, I get why people are like, you don't need that. That's not the best way, though.
It's actually kind of funny because Edge in chat just said that for raiding, mouse over healing is superior. But it's funny because that's not what I've gotten from other people in 14. Because everybody picked on me because every single heal on my white mage was a mouse over.
I mean, the highest in content only 8-man.
Yeah.
Like, the lowest you run raids within WoW is 10. Like, you're immediately talking about more targets.
Right, like, which makes so much more sense for a mouse over.
So the more targets there are, the more it's like, no, I don't want to bind to certain slots within my party. I don't want to have to click between like 9 million panes. I want to see a bunch of pain. I want to see a bunch of health bars, and I want to pick one, and I want to do it. And then I want something about those health bars to help me identify who's more important than someone else, because there are absolutely moments where, like, somebody's going to have to eat something, and you need to know what the priority is, because you can't, it's not like, oh, well, I'll just top everybody off. That is not an option.
Yeah. And Fran also just mentioned that it's it's harder to work in 14 because it doesn't like macros like aren't properly executed sometimes. So people will put like a ton of extra strings in for fail safes, and you can't necessarily do that with a mouse over. So, or you can, it just might not work.
Yes. Yeah, my stone macro is target of my target, and then if not, just my target. That way, because I put target of my target first, and then I realized in single player content I couldn't do anything because I don't have anybody, like, nobody's doing the targeting. And that's all the macro is. The more complex the macro is, the more it can really get nasty. That's why in crafting macros, like, you have to have like that /wait, and then you can't interrupt it unless you have that. I think there's a hotkey to do that. But like by default, like that ship has sailed. You're on like a 30-second journey. You don't really have any AoE at this point?
I mean,
like,
I have one. This is all I can do. That's why I literally pulled everything up to here, but I also thought that I had my, because your anti-knockback, if you use it when you're tanking, it slows down all of your targets, so like they can't cast or hit as quickly. And I thought that I had that up, but apparently I didn't.
No, it's long. It's like 120 seconds for arm's reach.
So I literally was just like, oh, I'll just pull everything to the door and use arm's reach. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's long.
Oh,
it's
that's
long.
not up. Sorry.
It's long. Which is a bummer because, like, in fights, they'll, like, a boss will do a knockback, like, every 60 seconds. And that means every other knockback, you're actually going to get knocked back.
Yeah.
As opposed to the in-betweens, it's like, no, I'm going to stay up here, thank you.
I am playing Dark Knight right now, Fenway. And just so everyone knows kind of the, I don't have anything yet. 15 seconds.
Just took a huge hit.
I know. Because I used everything on trash.
Tank buster.
But just so everyone knows, I'm trying to only speak when Chris isn't speaking to make it a little bit easier on your guys' ears. I know I talk a lot usually, but I'm trying to be good about it.
Streaming is about filling the void. It really is. Like, as much as it's interactive, you don't hear chat's voice, so like you're just in this room alone.
Well, no, Evan's over here.
On stream?
No.
Oh, okay. You're in this room as the one talking. Like,
Yeah,
not
no,
like a dialogue.
I'm the only one in the room talking, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I leveled.
Look at that.
Fancy. And I don't think I'm doing too bad tanking.
Well, we're just doing Sastasha and RFC,
Yeah.
like the world's easiest dungeons.
We'll see what happens later.
And then next week is Tamtara and Dead Mines, which is the world's second easiest dungeons. So it's really not a horribly crazy large amount of content. I know not everybody is into watching the other game, and obviously you and I both like are more involved in the 14 community. And so like I know not everybody's into watching. We're just running one dungeon. It's just one. Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if you ran RFC this week. Did you get Chromie Time unlocked?
I haven't. I mean, I have it unlocked. I have to like choose. I wasn't exactly sure what I needed to choose for RFC.
They tucked it into Kata.
It's in Kata, okay? Because I didn't choose anything. So like, I'm literally right in front of Chromie on my warrior, and I'm just like.
You can change as many times as you want.
Okay.
So
I wasn't sure.
You can change at will. As soon as you hit level 50, it's gonna have like you know, Chromie Time is over. You're gonna get kicked out in 60 seconds or something like that.
Gotcha.
So as soon as you hit level 50, you are out in the world, and there is no more Chromie Time. Chromie Time can also be used as like an advantage because it's an instance of the world. So like you can pop in and out of Chromie Time and in and out of war mode as a way of like verifying what rare spawns are up.
Oh, cool.
Because those are different instances of the world. And so
Yeah,
you can
I hadn't
basically
done
jump
anything
start
like
by
that.
dumping in and out of Chromie Time and in and out of you don't have to be in Chromie Time at all. You can be out where the world is dangerous. Just be aware that if you're doing that,
I'm
then
pulling
everything in the
all
zone
of
is going to
this,
be
by
at
the
the
way.
highest level. So Chromie Time is what enables world scaling. So I don't know if any world scaling still takes place outside of Chromie Time. I haven't tried. So basically, WoW, this last expansion, like restructured everything. And in the process, it broke a bunch of things. So they created like a world visit type system where you go to this person, Chromie, this time mage, and she allows you to go back and visit expansions kind of as they were. And that allows you to queue for those dungeons and run those quests and be locked into that expansion's timeline, because the new player experience no longer includes the previous expansions. It includes, like, it puts you in a timeline, it puts you in BFA's timeline, and then you're straight into Shadowlands as soon as that's over. So you don't even finish BFA. So it's super fragmented. And, like, I know for 14 people that sounds awful, because you're like, but what about all that lore, though? Well, there wasn't, like, a main story quest to vanilla, so, like, you're not getting denied something, and it's always there. You can always go push an alt for it.
Aw, thank you so much for the resub, Finch. I appreciate it. No, you're amazing.
Unreal Sastasha? That would be amazing. I would love Unreal of every dungeon in the game. I think scaling should be an optional thing.
Yeah, it definitely should be. Although, I would rather have scaling with all of your abilities, or have it be a choice, rather than scaling down and having, like, two when you're used to everything else. I guess that would kind of be overpowered, though. I wonder if there could be a way to balance it.
That's what they do when they introduce new jobs, Red Mage and all that. They scale them back down, and they cut them, they trim them up.
Right.
And they have too many abilities, and people are like, well, they break the content. It's like, you're breaking level 17 content. Like, is that, like, A, yes they do, but B, like, is that really the concern? You know, like, this already here, we already ignore the unnatural ripples.
Right.
Like, there will be no ads, there will be no dodging anything. I will stand here, and I will DPS this entire time as the healer. Like, that's what's gonna happen. Do you ever play with ACT?
I have. I've never actually had it on stream, and it's not necessarily because I'm scared, it's because I just don't know how to do it. So that it's captured. But yeah, I have. At the moment, I have this issue where, like, if I don't open it up and run both 14 and ACT as admin, it won't work. And so, or it'll just, like, it'll start calculating all of my little random numbers, and then it'll, like, stop halfway through, as though I died. So I haven't used it in quite some time. Not since, like, E5S, like, released, essentially.
You did it. That was somebody's first time to complete the duty. I'm assuming the thaumaturge. Well, we actually have somebody else doing a cutscene. Alright, good for them.
Nice.
Cool.
There we go. Thank everybody. I'm so excited. I could actually... No, I can't use this gear. I'm out. I have an inventory problem.
Roll on everything, all the time. Always roll. Always roll.
Alright.
You want to descent things. Do you even level your descent?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I haven't gotten there. I get sidetracked really easily.
People, and my fear was, but people won't care. This is why. Like, why nerf descent? It didn't draw people in. They're still leaving gear on the ground.
It's like everything, like, I like the idea of all of it, and, like, I actually enjoy crafting and gathering in 14 more than WoW, just because it's, like, more interactive. But at the same time, I've gotten distracted doing other things, so I haven't even leveled it up. It's bad. So wait.
You just do it after the dungeon, so I'm just going to break them down right now.
So...
That was fast.
Do you have my chat up? That was fast. No. Oh, okay.
I don't.
So Nino wanted to complain about Kata dungeon balancing. So he said when you pick it, you get classic dungeon lists for random dungeons, and once you get to about 40, you're forced into Kata dungeons, and they're not scaled well. They have a ton of abilities that one-shot tanks.
Death Knight, and I can tell you, they absolutely can be a bit punishing, and mechanics are very real in Kata. I didn't know you could come back down. Okay, well, good thing my character's only level 11.
Yeah, mine's 13.
Okay. Well, if we get pushed too high, we'll just create new ones. It's easy enough.
Yeah. Well, I literally was just like, I didn't want to finish leveling my warrior that was on Bleeding Hollow, because I was like, I already have a warrior. So it's level 13, it's on Emerald Dream, and it's like this random undead warrior that... I'll have to look at the abilities, too, because I have no idea.
Cool.
And yes, I do have an inventory problem.
I assume as we get into harder dungeons, this section of kind of collabing with you will get longer, but that was Sastasha. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It really is that quick.
Oh, so no, this isn't Chris's first time in 14. You're so sweet, and thank you for the raid, by the way.
First time healing PvE content in a long time.
Yeah.
I would have healed Sastasha before, but like when we move beyond level 30 stuff, that'll be all new for me. Healing. But no, I've been playing 14 since ARR. All right, so now we switch.
Okay.
It's easy enough. I gotta boot up WoW first, or it'll show my desktop, and I don't know what's on there. Probably just email. Like that's. I don't do anything on this computer except stream. Mm-hmm. Like when people are like, "Oh, they showed off their bank statement or they showed off their address." Like, step one, have a second computer, and don't do any of that on this one.
Or just don't put stuff like that on like a desktop that you're gonna show. Like, I don't.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's not even on this computer. This computer's never logged into my bank statements. There is no way to accidentally show off personal information.
I meant more like for other people being the dumb. Here we go.
Oh, all right.
Did that show up? Yeah, it showed up. Okay, cool.
And we switch. So now we're in WoW. I'll change stream info so somebody don't come in and they're like, "What is this?"
That's how you get comms for Mentor. I mean, I waited and I calmed and then I left. But I just didn't need the gear. That's what I was saying. All right.
Did you already have it up? How did you log in so much faster than me?
I have it on an SSD.
Do you have a lot of add-ons installed?
No.
That's probably it. My whole computer's on an SSD.
Oh, I have to swap.
So I'm assuming it's add-ons. I have like 9,000 add-ons. This character doesn't need them, and I have them anyway.
I want to be prot. Glamours also help for comms. I mean, I was wearing the Valentine's event outfit from last year, my dude. Okay.
I assume you have room on your friends list over here?
Yes, I think. What's the max? I have like 300. I don't know what the max is. But yeah, send me a friend request.
Okay,
it's
I need
Meg,
a battle tag or
yeah.
I don't know. I think World of Warcraft name. I don't know if we can do that cross server.
It's Meg, MEGG, hashtag 1385.
Even if you have a totally unique name, they're still going to assign you that number at the end.
Yeah.
It's just a thing they do. All these people hit and follow and subscribe. Thank you, guys. YouTube comes in all at once now because they screwed up the API. So
you
we
feel
get
dirty because of WoW. It's supposed to be a compare and contrast. It's one dungeon. It's one dungeon. It'll be okay.
Oh, wow. This is the basic thing. It was originally like level 4 content. Like, this is absurdly short.
Yeah, I have to. All right. So, oh, you have Victory Rush as a freaking. Okay, cool.
I sent you. Right? Did I not send you a friend request?
You did. I accepted it.
Your wife's number is 1234. That's wonderful. Oh, are you showing us offline? Oh no, there you are. There it is. I found you.
I was just gonna say I shouldn't be, maybe.
I have other people down below.
All
That's
right,
okay.
Hamstring.
Hooray.
Pummel. Okay. Do I get any actual abilities? All right, shield block.
You unlock this. You unlock your first dungeon at 17. In WoW, you run your base intro area, your kind of new Hall of the Novice, brand new thing, Exile's Reach, and when you come out, you can queue for dungeons as often as you want. In Final Fantasy, the most common time that a player after they've manually queued for things is going to end up in Sastasha is if they're doing their leveling roulette, which is a once per day massive source of experience. And tomes, kind of, I think if you're at camp, it's a good source of tomes. And that's really it. You do it as part of roulettes. It'll show up randomly as part of, but over here, like, it's really only while leveling, and I'm being told, like, there's going to come a point where it'll even drop out of that. And it's never required. It's never required by story. It's a totally optional thing. And they're always random. There's not a roulette. You can run as many random dungeons as you want, but your once per day, you get a satchel of helpful goods, which will give you some loot. And then like some bonus experience. But I think the bonus experience is each and every time you run randoms back to back to back. But they don't have all the other roulettes, right? They don't have an MSQ roulette, they don't have a raid roulette, they don't have an alliance raid roulette, they don't have a trial roulette. Like, there's all these other things that kind of make up for that in 14 that add some variety. And in WoW, it's like, no, you just spam dungeons until you log out.
I've always played both Hobbits, and for anyone who's just coming in, yeah, so Chris and I we just ran Sastasha, and now we're going to run RFC and I'm tanking again, and he's going to be healing, and we're just kind of like going over what the differences are, so everybody can see those and how different it plays. And it's just going to be one dungeon.
Thank you.
It's okay. It's just going to be one dungeon.
Really okay, thank you. 13 to 18. So you're doing kind of the opening area, and then you're immediately here. It's like as soon as you show up in org. Does this shield give end? I don't know. Yes.
You said it was Kata, right?
It's heirloom, so like it's all going to scale to whatever my spec needs, so you don't even have to check it. Yeah, it's Kata.
All right, cool.
Are you here? Hey, that's you.
I'm in org, yeah.
Wait, Lusky. That's just there we go. Lusky, there you are. Hello. Hooray. What's the rarest mount you have? We'll do a single Asmongold mount off here.
A single? All right, let's go.
What's the rarest mount?
I don't know what the rarest mount I have is. Let me look.
Let's guarantee this is mine.
Oh, you
There's
have
no way you have this.
I don't have that one.
There's no way.
I don't.
It'd be really a pain to get now.
But my favorite...
It was hard to get then.
My favorite, and it's not even hard to get, but my absolute favorite is... I have a yak. and I love this yak, but I don't have that one. Oops. But I have my yak. This is my favorite. Is this the cutest thing? It's so cute.
There's a gray one as well.
Is there really? Oh, you have that one?
This is the blonde one. That's the one you're on.
Yeah.
The gray.
Oh, I didn't have the gray one. I only have the blonde one.
And then there's also the Grand Expedition one, which has the vendor on it. Yeah,
I never got that one.
Transmog vendor. That's a glamour dresser, ladies and gentlemen, right there on a mount.
And then this is my other absolute favorite, the Grove Warden. This was from AOTC for Hellfire Citadel.
I don't have that one. That's the moose.
Yeah.
But I do have this one. Same model.
Oh, nice.
That's
I
archaeology.
didn't even know they made a spectral one. That's cool.
It's archaeology, and it's a limited. I think it's a limited time. It's a timed event, I think, and it comes around.
Let's see.
Cool. Well, there's your mount off, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. We have I bet combined we have less
a lot of
than
the
people
really
that
cool
compete
ones.
in that.
Well, so. I mean, I have the volcanic stone drake that I was really excited about because I did this right after it was turned.
Drake. No, look at all these drakes that came out that I don't have. Oh my goodness, there are so many.
If you have Invincible, Mimron's Head, or Ashes of Alar, I don't have any of those, but
you don't have Ashes? Ashes is a fun one to go farm.
I don't like farming raids for mounts and stuff. I don't know. I'm weird about it. I have the Twilight Drake too.
For somebody who plays 14 as much as I do, I have a shockingly deep, casual level of stuff in WoW. All right, let's do this.
I've never really been a collector.
Let's get these 14 people so they don't have to look at WoW anymore.
All right, sorry
I know
guys.
it doesn't bother everybody, but for some people this is active pain right now.
Sorry guys.
So we queue up.
All right, so one of the first things that's different that you guys will notice is that in 14, you actually turn on a threat generator. Depending on what your class is, you used to be able to do it. So paladins would turn on their retribution, and they would be able to have a threat generator that way. I don't have a threat generator. So, not a button. I have things that I can hit stuff to try to generate threat, but I don't have a button that I can just turn on.
You have increased threat for being a tank.
Wait, we're doing Mara? I thought we were going to
crap,
RFC.
no.
Why are we doing Mara?
No, I'm so sorry. How do we leave and not take a penalty?
You can't.
Oh no, I didn't specific. I pressed random. I'm not ready to heal this. You want to do it, or you want to leave?
No,
and take
let's do it. Let's do it.
This is so much more advanced than I was prepared for. Okay, guys, this is much later. This is like a level 40 dungeon originally. This is. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. Okay, guys, so this is probably something more akin to a stone vigil.
You have to heal me. Oh my god.
You're okay. I forgot I was healing. How do I... Okay, so you guys said there was a way to move raid frames where I can, How do I move raid frames to where I can move them? I don't want them on the left side of my screen, and I don't have an add-on for it. You said there was a native way when I was in this last time. Thank you. Interface. Oh my gosh. This got more intense way too fast. Click that arrow. Got it. Arrow. Oh, she's pulling. We're doing it.
Oh, I didn't really. I thought you were ready. I'm sorry.
We're doing it live. No, we can do it. We can do it. Unlock. Great. Oh, beautiful. Lock. Great. That's perfect.
I don't have any abilities. I don't have any threat generators. This is fun. Not really. And I'm rooted.
This is an intense dungeon run with no mechanics. This was never designed to be run at this level. This is resulting of their change. Well, next week we'll run
I can't
RFP.
hold aggro. This is so bad.
All right. So we're jumping straight into like Stone Vigil at like level 12 and 13 or something, which was not possible until pre-patch of this expansion.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This is not possible, and for good reason. Like, there is absolutely no reason to be here at this level.
Okay, so I have to kite these blobs, but I'm probably gonna take a lot of damage, just so you know.
So level doesn't matter? Kind of. So but we're basically in Unreal we're in Unreal all the time. Like, everything scales up to you. So the entire dungeon looks like it's my level. But I only have access to the number of skills that I do at my level, and they've now spread the skills across 1 to 50. So there's now everything, every skill, every passive trait there's 50 of those, and those have been broken up. So at level 11, 13, whatever we are, you only have 13 of those. But
you heard me say I had to
everything
kite these,
here
right?
is the right level. Like, I'm seeing everything as level 11, she's seeing everything as level 13. My DPS meter is seeing everybody as if they're all doing level 11 damage, and they're not. Like, there's an 11 in here, a 12, an 18, a 12, so we're all too low level to be doing this.
Why? Why did he pull all the rest of the sludges? Breathe!
Yeah, so like, level 50 will totally be in a group. Level 49 could be in here. Are we supposed to be killing these things eventually here?
Yes, but I have to kite them, so I can't do much about it.
I'm glad you know.
And now I'm rooted.
I think if I was staying here, my first response would have been to just stand there. I don't really have a plan. Let's start trying to do some damage. Oh, nope.
Don't work on doing any damage. Just spam heal me, please. Because nobody is interrupting these entangling roots, so I can't kite anymore. Okay, we killed him. Thank God. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so this is like Brayflocks, maybe Stone Vigil, something like that. Like, that's kind of the equivalent of this. I don't know how many dungeons there are between this and what we were supposed to run, but I misclicked. I just clicked random, so we're going to get like a massive amount of experience. So because we're doing random, we're going to get the bonus, and the bonus is like, it's at around our level, it's a whole level worth of experience. So this is like MSQ roulette levels of experience.
Seriously? I hit you.
So this is
okay. So these worms are really irritating too. Just so you know, they kind of explode, and I kind of have to pull like all of them.
All right, I'm ready.
So this is gonna be irritating.
Oh nope! I was waiting to put the hot on you because I knew it was gonna pull threat.
It's okay.
And then it did.
It's okay. It's okay. I got it.
My first tendency would have been to pre-high you if you were worried about dying, but...
Do they not do the splash damage anymore? Okay. I mean, they used to do splash damage.
They've nerfed a lot of these dungeons, so we're only going to have to fight 2 bosses in here.
You didn't click on the wrong stream, Grayson. The title is now that we're doing a compare and contrast. We're doing one WoW dungeon. It was supposed to be RFC, and we kind of messed up. So, oh, I got that interrupt. Yeah, buddy. Can other people interrupt, please?
Are there more WoW dungeons than 14 dungeons?
No. There are more 14 dungeons. The only difference is that, like, a lot of people will, obviously, as you know, like, level through dungeons for WoW. So, in my opinion, just because of that, they're a lot more memorable. Because in 14, you usually either just do the unlock for it, or do it through story once, unless you get it in roulette later, or you want to farm for glamour. So, it's kind of...
Why do you think that is? Like, do you think that's just because they don't have an MSQ that is feeding them narrative and you're just doing quest hubs, or?
Yeah, probably.
Because effectively, when this was new content, you would have just been doing the equivalent of side quests.
Yeah.
Now, there were side quests that became iconically well known, but, like, you know, like Mankirk's wife, but, like...
The boss is going to be in the...
not MSQ.
In the water. And
I'm glad she knows this dungeon. Like, look at all this knowledge, guys.
And these things are just really irritating. So do you see that? They put a poison on me. So that's that's what I thought it was. I thought they exploded, but it's the poison. So now Noxion, we just want to make sure that nothing is going to hit us while we're fighting him, but I'm going to pull him out of the water over here.
When I played Druid up until I learned to tank in 14, I always did ranged, so I was always a balance or resto, so I always played caster or healer. And that's, I mean, they could share gear. I mean, there was best in slot for one, but...
Get over here. Oh, when those die, I can use my victory rush. That is so nice. I'm geeking out a little bit, guys. I'm sorry.
There's 127 WoW dungeons? And how many 14 dungeons? Are there more than 127? I knew they were both a big number. They're both an absolutely big number. When we were talking about doing this project, she's like, how long will we do this for? And I was like, until we don't want to, because I'm pretty sure if we just did like one dungeon from each week, it's like years.
I'm having fun. Okay. So then grab the loot from there.
I'm excited it's only 2 bosses though.
Yeah, for this one there's only a couple. So now we're gonna go up here, so if you have like a hat that you can throw on me before I grab the rest of these worms. Because they're gonna do the same thing. And they're gonna poison us. And then you also, like, so I'm gonna keep, oh, he can freeze them, that's nice. So I'm gonna tank them over here, because if you get closer to that little mushroomy thing, that also sprays out poison. So now we're gonna go up here.
She's got a plan.
This is so much different than what I thought we were gonna do.
Yeah. You guys, I only had to be able to do RFC. I practiced. I did a run of RFC. I was like, okay, I feel good. This is fine. And then I have another week to like actually get raid frame set up, and before we do anything.
Do you know when do you get Thunderclap?
This mouse over. I thought I could do this. Like I was like, well, I'm trying it in 14. I'll try it here. No. This is not okay.
I got that interrupt. Since nobody else wants to do it.
It lowers their DPS. Although in low-level dungeons, because of the way threat is generated, there's almost no way, since we're all low-level, there's almost no way to top the tank.
Hang on one second.
So she's absolutely top DPS.
I forgot to put my execute down. Oh, come on.
And almost always will be.
I forgot there was a pat here.
Trials could make up the difference. Oh, that's true. I mean, the early trials are still 4-man. They don't turn to 8-man until level 50, right?
Try to put these together.
She's focused.
Sorry. What was the question?
When do trials move to being 8-man? Is that level 50?
I think it is at level 50. Chat? Is it 50?
There's 41 in normal and hard trials. 76 dungeons. That puts you in that like 130. So they're neck and neck. So if you count trials and dungeons, they're almost the same.
Okay. That wasn't terrible. Yes, I am tanking. I was doing a comparative thing. We were gonna do Sastasha versus RFC, and and forgot about.
I just pressed dungeon. I was like, yeah, dungeon, done. No. I needed to change it to specific dungeon. Unacceptable.
We only have one intro.
It's okay.
Guys,
it's week 1.
15 seconds.
It's week 1. I think RFC's fast enough. Next week we could do RFC followed by Dead Mines.
Oh yeah.
Dead Mines was like my favorite of the low level
Happy New Year,
dungeons.
love.
And it's changed. I don't know if you've run Dead Mines since Kata, which I mean anytime in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I have.
But it is not the Dead Mines of vanilla. Did you like running it before the change? Was way better. has an extra boss now. It's not even like the same.
Yeah, they had changed RFC too. Not recently, but they changed it.
That big tooltip that's popping up. I don't know if it shows up on stream. Might not. Might be just clipped. It's in my bottom right. Oh, it should be healing.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah!
That's Maraudon. We did it. We did it. I leveled twice in there, and almost.
I did too.
Wow.
Almost. Yeah. I have a lot of rest experience.
2 and a bit.
Oh no, this isn't classic. So the idea was we're comparing and contrasting 14 and WoW for dungeons, and we did Sastasha, and I tanked on my Dark Knight, and then nope, because I forgot to turn it on because I'm a dumb.
Oh. Cool. Well, is that enough WoW for you? Do you want to run RFC correctly?
I mean, I wouldn't mind if we wanted to run RFC correctly. Now I have all of my abilities. If you want to.
Specific dungeon, Ragefire Chasm. Join as party.
All right, thank you so much for hanging out, Lightning. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Have a nice rest of your night, man. DK as well, then? No, because I don't like DK tanks. If I'm going to tank, I prefer either Warrior or Paladin, and Warrior was what I had for the correct level to do this. So.
Aren't the 8-man guild has the first 8-man?
FF14 dungeons are better.
Yes. Yeah, this is a new texture pack for Final Fantasy 14. Do you guys not recognize this?
Yeah. Can you guys hold on one second? Can you guys hear the music now? I'm sorry. I had turned it down. How's that? Can you hear it now? I didn't realize we just did that whole dungeon without my music on. That's unfortunate. If I actually use the HUD... there's a 14 HUD mode? Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can make your quest. There's a quest app that makes it look like quests and then plays like the proper quest complete sound. And then cool. Controller support now being native means that there's add-ons that like will make that look like a cross hotbar setup.
You miss old org music?
So
I have a lot of people.
Yep, you can jump into WoW and basically play it as close to 14 as you want.
But as you guys saw there, so like I don't have a lot of abilities that generate threat either. So I have 2 abilities that will kind of like save me for damage. Oh, did you unqueue?
Yeah, I didn't see you. It didn't show you as it didn't show we had a healer and a tank.
Oh,
Are you
that
not
was
in
weird,
tank? Yes.
because I had a.
All right, we're in the party. Yeah, I backed us out because it showed as we had a DPS and join us party. Do you have the right thing selected? Do you have tank selected?
Ooh, that's fun. I don't even know if that's the best thing, but I'm using War Machine.
There it goes, tank and healer. That's what
I don't have Ignore.
I was like, that is unacceptable. Why are we sitting here for more than 1 minute with tank and healer?
You got to be worshipped by goblins because you put. Oh.
All right, here's the dungeon we're supposed to run. This was the actual dungeon.
Yep. So this is the first dungeon in WoW.
And I have quests.
RFC. So
these quests are not voiced because this is old content. If you're.
And you actually don't have to fight those. Okay, Hunter, go ahead and fight those.
You can.
But you don't actually have to fight those guys.
They're just hanging out. All right.
All right. This is gonna be easier. I'm telling you.
It's much easier. I mean, especially now that we knock the dust off with something much harder.
Yeah.
It worked out fine.
Right.
I don't want to get hit by lava. I don't know the timing on it. Oh. Man, I just expect mouse over to work. It just doesn't. It's like an immediate.
Nice.
I leveled. Somebody else leveled? Somebody else leveled. I heard a level. Is that you?
No, it wasn't.
You're already up to 15. That's crazy. You're gonna end up with an extra character out of this. Do you have a warrior already leveled?
Not totally leveled, no.
Have you always played Horde?
Yep, always Horde. I mean, I have one that's like 45 or something, or 40.
What made you picked Horde because your friends that played?
Yeah,
Horde?
Because they told me that if I played Alliance, that it was the faction that people who didn't know how to play and like were crybabies and whined about everything, that was the faction that they played.
Isn't Asmon Alliance?
Yeah.
There are like Alliance heavy servers and Horde heavy servers. And the splits are bad, like 90% the other way. And then they don't use the way that it like merges you with other servers to fix that. They just let it stay that way. So like World PvP can get really one-sided. Not something that 14 has to worry about because it doesn't have World PvP, and it doesn't have factions. I always kind of wondered how different of a game it'd be if when you picked your grand company, that was it, and like you couldn't play with other grand companies. I don't know that it would have been better at all. It just would have been an interesting change.
You weren't right next to me. I was totally trying to move him so that he would hit you with the fire breath, but you weren't right next to me, so I hit the freaking.
Oh, did you hit the
poor
rogue?
shaman?
Oh, the other shaman. I do love that this is like, it's so quick to find a party for something that's so old. Granted, we're healer tank, so like that's a huge impact. But like, it's also like, I think a 5-man is a better representation of like, the more DPS you could put in, the better. Like, I kind of wonder if a 6-man wouldn't be even better. Just because that closer represents the actual ratios. You know, like when we moved to just one tank in Alliance Roulette.
Oh, hey, those are actually an upgrade. Cool. Yep.
I don't think. Oh, we've rescued scouts. Do you want an M+ in 14? Like, obviously, like Brian and I talk about it all the time.
I think it'd be great, like, for the extra difficulty, because people like a lot of people complain that things aren't difficult enough for the dungeons to begin with. Yeah,
they're easy on day one. Yep. Like,
and then
even when you
hard
first step into an expansion. No, hard mode that's the wrong word choice. I think a lot of times the word choice is wrong on stuff like that. I think calling Blue Mage limited job is part of what made it feel awful. Is because people immediately heard the word limited and they didn't think like limited edition. They thought limited like it can't do things. And actually, in my mind, it might be the most social job in the game. Mm-hmm. Like, it is very much about like playing with other people, and like there's these mass farms when it gets new content. So like limited's not quite the right word. It's definitely separate, but like we don't call Deep Dungeon limited dungeon.
Right. And I actually don't, probably if I did it like with enough people, I would like it. But for the most part, I don't like that that's the way to level. Because like, that's why I don't.
Oh, that you can't really just go out and like farm all that stuff by yourself. Like you have to be in dungeons and stuff like that where you need people to help you get your Shiva skill.
I just think it's more fun to have like a full group to do it, like just to say that you got to a certain floor, but not to actually level that way. Like, I don't like the idea of for a deep dungeon. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Have you cleared Deep Dungeon?
No, I haven't. I've only gotten to floor 50, I think, and the only reason that I even got there was because I thought that the Edda story ended at floor 50. I didn't realize that it ended at floor 100.
Have you touched Torghast?
Yes.
What do you think?
I actually like it. I like how like how there are certain abilities that are a lot of fun, and you don't necessarily get the best abilities to help you out. And it's a lot of fun to do it with someone else as well. It's just sometimes you can feel OP, and sometimes you're like, why did I get this ability? Like, I have no idea. It's too fun. But I think it's fun regardless. So I'm gonna go to the right and to the worm.
Did you clear Mage Tower in Legion?
No, I didn't.
Did you attempt Mage Tower in Legion?
Once. And I was horrible, so I stopped.
It was hard. It was hard. It was very similar to like the people who try to like solo Heaven on High. Like it slammed you in the face a lot, but like once you got it, I got 3 of my 4 specs done before it went away. It was hard. M+ has a major problem in rewards. Yes, because eye level in M+, the eye level of the loot scales based on the level of Mythic Plus you run, and 14 doesn't do scaled loot, ever. Like, every piece of loot is a static thing. It will always be that level, it will always be those stats. And so they would have to build in, like, building in dynamic dungeons also builds in, you have to build in dynamic loot. It's both. Roulette in 14 to compare? No telling what we'd get there. I already ran my leveling roulette today.
Yeah.
That's probably the best comparison. The fact that I've already run my leveling roulette and the fact that I had not run my roulette over here. It's like, this feels so endless that it feels like you're not... It feels like you're not getting... There's no reason to do it today versus tomorrow. As opposed to my leveling roulette encourages me to, like, do it, even if I'm kind of on the edge, because, like, that reward is going away. I'll only be able to run it once tomorrow, and so if I want to run it twice more this week, I have to do today's for that to count. So I think that might be, like, that might be the comparison right there, is that we both already run our roulette, and we haven't, and we hadn't over here, and weren't planning to. Even though it's great experience.
Oh yeah,
it just isn't a priority.
Nothing.
I got wrists.
This way? Yeah, it's this way. Alright, we're gonna go over here. Shut up. Sorry. Whenever my character yells at me and says I'm out of range, I always tell it to shut up. I'm sorry. It wasn't you guys or anyone from chat, it's just... I'm weird.
They could do this in the same way they do the dungeon on 14, make a static that you slowly improve. They could. They could. They could do M+ as like a static set of levels. And yeah. And then the affixes be fixed. I picture the affixes being like floor modifiers from Deep Dungeon. So like, I don't really want to ask of them to make anything that they don't already have. So I want to ask, like, okay, how do you make a different combination of the features you already have? So we already have Deep Dungeon floor modifiers. That's a thing that we've done. Like, we've been there. And we have a set number of floors, and it's procedurally generated, kind of. Like, it's random which floors you get, but from like a set. So you could have sets of affixes that can be combined, and then every dungeon could have like a couple of versions. And then as you step up, it could go up by set amounts. And maybe the reward's purely cosmetic. Like, maybe it doesn't have to be better gear. And maybe there just aren't as many levels, right? So, like, it's just meant to kind of push you a little higher. Or you come out with another tier each time you come out with a new raid tier, and then you're getting new stuff at that eye level. So you just kind of adjust it. So there's not this dynamic. It's like, no, this tier was represented, this is the 5.1 tier, this is the 5.2 tier, and so on. But there's definitely a way, if they wanted to do it, they could. And Yoshi P says he likes the system. I mean, he's a huge Diablo fan, and it has a lot of greater riff to it. But like, he finished the statement. Brian and I asked him in our one-on-one interview with him at the media tour, and he said, I like the system. I like a lot of things WoW has. I wish that I had the funding WoW had.
That was a lot easier. Why is my stream messing up? That's so weird.
So he's like, I wish I had the funding that WoW had.
My stream's being the dumb. Sorry, guys. I have no idea why it's messing up. It might just be because of WoW, because I don't have everything set up for WoW. I don't know.
Cool. We did it. Okay.
Easy.
Yeah. Easy. That wasn't so bad, was it, guys? And we even made you, just like your parents, accidentally, we made you consume 2 vegetables worth. So that's it.
Yeah, that was fun, though. Like, that actually was a lot of fun tanking Mara. Like, Mara's actually one of my favorites. Well, the princess run for Mara is really fun. Especially, like, dealing with all of the stone giants and then getting to the end and having, like, Mara literally, like, farts at you and pushes you back. It's great. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite dungeons in WoW, so. But yeah, I'm switching everything back over to 14. Hopefully trying to switch everything back over to 14, even though I lost a ridiculous amount of frames for some reason, so I don't know.
We're getting there. So, what'd you have in mind for chatting?
Honestly, it was mainly just the differences that we had. So, like, everyone could see that mostly for 14, it's all instances, for the most part, are you want to dodge void zones for mechanics. Like, you can see everything telegraphed, and you just dodge those and move the bosses, like, easily. And I think the only little gimmick for Sastasha is just that you have to have read that note or guess for the next room, right? Whereas in WoW, it's just kind of like you can keep chain pulling, and as long as things are kept like CC'd or interrupted, it's a lot easier. But comparatively, what's tough is that because we did Maraudon instead of RFC first, there are pulls for that where I can't just pull everything wall to wall. Like, you know, certain dungeons in, what is the name of it, that everyone picks on me about. So, like, I think it's Academia, that you start off and go and you fight, like, the sharks at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you would pull everything from the start until just before the gate, before that opens. And the only thing you really have to worry about is having, like, defensives up and, like, moving out of the way of void zones. Whereas just in that run of Mara, which used to be, like, around, like, a level 40-ish dungeon, I believe, before they made the squish. And, like, we get to those blobs. You have to, as a tank, you have to kite those blobs, or else when they hit you, they put a dot on you. Or, like, you can only pull a certain amount, and things have to be interrupted. So, like, I had the entangling roots, right? And I didn't have my ranged ability yet. And so if I wanted to keep aggro, I would have to use a taunt on something that was far away. But it might be on cooldown because I don't have just a button that I hit in WoW for that class as a warrior that's a threat generator. So I might have already used my taunt, and then someone doesn't interrupt the entangling roots, so now I'm a tank, I'm sitting there in this entangling roots, and I can't, like, if I lose aggro on this fiend, I can't do anything about it unless my taunt is off cooldown. And I think it's only like 10 seconds, but still. So there's just, like, those differences. And my abilities for WoW used to be more of threat generators, and they actually, when they did the stat squish and the level squish, they squished the amount of threat that you're able to get as well. And then for certain tanks also, when they AoE, it's just like when DPS AoE now. So for certain classes, I believe Warrior is the only one as a tank, but your AoE for, like, Whirlwind, or how it used to be for Thunderclap, for example, hits less guys. So you could pull a whole room, but your abilities only hit 5 people, because they've toned that down to make it so that you can't wall-to-wall pull, or wall-to-wall pull as much. So, whereas, like, they don't have that cap in 14 either.
Like, what do you miss most? Like, because that kind of, like, brings back, like, a wave of memories about, like, how WoW dungeons work at the same time as how 14. Like, what do you miss most about what WoW dungeons have that 14 don't? Like, normal to normal, right? Like, right from the get-go, what is it that you think WoW dungeons do better? And then we'll go the other way.
I think probably I like the idea of having certain things that you would have to interrupt your CC, and it's further down the line, but I like trying to have, like, tactical pulls, rather than just being like, okay, as long as you have, like, your white mage that can use holy and, like, glare stuff in DPS as well, like, it's more, and you just have that wall to wall, because there are certain things that could be interrupted, but they don't necessarily have to be interrupted. Whereas in WoW, if a tank gets hit by something extra, that should be interrupted, or you pull like that one more extra guy that you weren't prepared for, and your healer is actually healing and not DPSing. It's harder to come back from that, I think. Or just for
yeah, we've had that in some. We've had some expansions where like you have to CC.
Yeah.
Like, it's as a general rule and normal, it's gone away over the years, but that's because they've added other difficulties so they can afford to let it go away.
Right.
But like there has been very much like pulls in WoW over the years where like right from the get-go you need to know what every monster does, and like different people have different responsibilities. I think having more utility in the game, people talk about wanting like a utility role. I wish mixed into the DPS there were more things expected of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuns is a great example. So like, you know, if there were more things that have to be interrupted, and if they're not interrupted, you wipe.
Right.
Like really, like one of the only times we have a mechanic like that is that like there's some bees that have final sting. Like there are just occasional times there's some guys that have to die on a certain platform, so hold DPS till they get there, and that's the same dungeon. Like, so there's only a handful of times that there's like these must do mechanics, or either the pull will go on forever or the pull will punish you and like you'll lose people, possibly the whole party. Like, I like that WoW does that. One of the things I think 14 players accuse new players of, just as like a community thing that sometimes gets leveraged against people, is that if they use a story skip or a level skip, they don't learn how to play. But like, I don't think the game does a horribly good job of taking you from single player MSQ content into what is expected of you as a trial. Like, it kind of just goes and go. Like, if you're doing your dungeons as you go, you might be learning that, but like the things that are expected of you in Eden 9 are very different than what's expected of you in like, you know, Stone Vigil or Brayflocks.
Oh yeah.
Like, and it's a drastically different set of skills. And those that have been playing Worldful Expansions, it's like, of course I knew not to stand in that. Of course I knew that when I was tethered, I run. Of course I knew that, you know, stack mechanics need stack mechanics, and that shows up in some of the trials. But like, I wish more monsters out in the world and more monsters in dungeons had raid style mechanics, so that are maybe less punishing, so that you learn it's like, okay, I can't eat that twice, and then you go into raid, it's like, oh, I can't eat that once. I think the game could do a better job using dungeons as like a teaching tool instead of a narrative mechanic.
Oh yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to not be narrative as well. Like, now that we have trusts, you can go put stuff like off in another wing. And now we have Blue Mage. You could go put things off in another area that's just this optional side boss that people don't do, that like a Blue Mage needs an ability from, that like your trusts could go clear with you, that enhances the narrative. So like we can have dungeons be more than one thing now, and instead they're very linear. Like you just run down this hallway and there's only one way to go, and there's a series of entrances to keep you from over pulling, and you pull it all, you AoE it down, and you move on. Don't stand in bad.
However, alternatively, one of the things that irritates me in WoW, speaking of which, is that there are different areas that aren't necessarily that linear, and you have like all of the packs that are scattered in one room, rather than like having a hallway and pulling and pulling and pulling. And one of the things that irritates me is when you try to avoid trash, because you try to avoid it because you have all of this room, because it's not as linear and the trash packs are in different areas of the room, and then someone accidentally pulls it anyway. So it's just kind of funny that one of the things that I dislike is not having all of the mechanics or the extra things that you have to deal with in 14, where like you just pull the whole hallway, right?
Arm Vales are really, the opening room of Arm Vale is odd because it's one of the few places you do that.
Right. And yeah, that's what I'm saying, like that, and that's literally it. And so like for every single thing in WoW, people are like, okay, get on your mount. Oh my gosh, I wish I remembered. There was this dungeon in, it was either Warlords or Legion, and you had to fight, I think the first boss was like these 3 guys, and one of them casted brambles, and the other one did like a water heal and something else, and I can't remember what dungeon it is, but regardless, you could skip a pack by getting on a mount and climbing up this like little Everbloom, thank you, and climbing up this little glitched area in the side of like this this like mountain cliffside thing, after going through this flower, and you had to like, and it was this really small area, and you had to like go up over a hump in like this, in this cliffside, and hardly anyone could do it. So it was amazing if you had like a priest that could grab you, or someone with like a multiple person mount that would literally like hang over the edge of this cliff so people could jump up on it, and then someone would accidentally pull the mob anyway, and so you'd have to jump back down after literally spending 20 minutes for no reason at all to avoid this pack, and it probably would have taken less time to go through the rest of the map and pull everything, and it was just the most irritating thing ever.
So what would you go the other way with? What do you think 14 dungeons that do that, like WoW dungeons, even in Shadowlands, are like, come on, pick up the pace?
Not sure. I probably one of the best things that I really like that Blizz kind of fixed was being able to, at any level, like have your abilities and your item and your levels like scaled down and everything. And that was one of my biggest qualms that I wish they had. Probably the other thing is I like the way like a lot of the boss fights work. Like they're a lot more gimmicky, whereas there aren't as many boss fights in WoW that are gimmicky anymore. And I actually like that. So like, you know, you have for another example, like in Hero's Gauntlet, you know, you have the last boss where he starts to cast this ability and you have to go down into the trenches to get out of the ability, you know, or to not get hit by it. But if you stay in the trenches too long and try to play it safe, you get disoriented. And there are things like later on for WoW, like especially for like BC and Wrath, that you have gimmicky fights like that. But I feel like they're not as often, or especially like comparatively like RFC. You literally don't even have to worry about anything that the bosses do. Like the final boss had a cast. I interrupted the cast, but like there was no reason to, because you could heal me through it. I like that whole like gimmicky type mechanics, and I like the idea of just like having something telegraphed that you move out of, rather than just, you know, an interrupt and having a tank face an ability a certain way. So I guess I like that.
Yeah.
For 14.
Yeah, I like the cohesive appearance of the mechanics we do get. I wish we had more mechanics in 14, but I do like that because they don't have a community that is going to use a DBM every time. They haven't become reliant on that DBM to tell people what to do. And so like they are very good about like the mechanics we do have. It's very clear in 14 what they are, and then they can overlay those in like interesting ways. And like in the process of adding to dungeons, I don't want them to lose like the immersiveness of them. Like because they're tied into story, they're so much more like immersive. I feel like the dungeons, there were dungeon quests in Shadowlands, and I don't feel as connected to the 8 dungeons as I do to the dungeons that we do in 14. And I've done them more times, and they're mechanically more interesting than the dungeons we've gotten in Shadowlands, just 1-to-1. But I don't have like, I mean, the music in WoW just never keeps up with the music in 14. And like the place we are and why I'm there matters so much more to me in 14 than I think any dungeon ever has in WoW.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Man. There's some roles that are really important, but like for 5-mans, yeah. I mean, maybe Wrath might have had the most meaningful dungeons because you're interacting with what will eventually become the raid boss. So there's like a story being told there, and like you interact with Sylvanas, who becomes like a big deal. So like Wrath might be the one time that they kind of really, really, truly broke from that. But I feel like the dungeons don't do a great job of like, I get it, the guy's bad, we're gonna kill him, he's gonna give me loot. Like they're a bit flatter narratively.
And it's tough because in that respect, it's like the reason that you're able to be so immersed in the dungeons and actually like know why you're there is because of it being part of the MSQ or having those unlock quests. Whereas in WoW, like those quests are there. Like there are stories that you can do to see why like you're getting into a dungeon, but it's not something that you're forced to do. So you're kind of like it's different in that respect. And as well as I feel like the music in WoW is more of better for like different zones, like out in the world. So like one of my favorites was always like the Baron's music, or Grizzly Hills for Wrath. Whereas everything for 14, the only areas in the world for me that the music has stuck for me, because you're right, it is a lot better. The music is a lot better, in my opinion, as well, for dungeons in 14. But out in the world, for the most part, for me, the only OST that I really like is like Raktika and like Upper Amaranth, and that's it. So I feel like that's a little bit different too. And the music for WoW is just kind of like the battle music that you would normally hear for different areas or based on different races, like whatever the dungeon is supposed to be about, or whatever race.
Yeah, I mean, it's as iconic as like a Pokemon or anything else. So it's music that like gets stuck in your head if you leave it on, and it's fine, and it's clearly composed for this, but like there's something about the music in 14, especially this expansion, that has just added like another sense to why you're there and what you're doing. And like in the group content, it's really on point. Trials, raids, dungeons, the music is just on point. Every time.
Yeah.
So like it's and the fact that it transitions with you.
And I couldn't even tell you probably any type of instance in WoW that I feel that way about, except for ICC. But I don't feel like that counts because the music is, you know, like Arthas, My Son, is one of my absolute favorites, but it doesn't actually play until you get to that cutscene after you finish the Lich King fight. So I don't know if that
Wrath until now, Wrath is the last time I feel like they really tried to say, how do we tell a cohesive story across all content, across the entire course of the expansion? And I guess they didn't feel like it landed, because that Kata didn't feel that cohesive, and then like it feels like they're like, you know what, let's just get back to basics, let's get back to gameplay. And now they're kind of coming back around. Like Wrath had a lot of the things we're saying is like, well, except for Wrath. Like Wrath was a really full-fledged, it was an enormous undertaking. And it's what led to them having to rebuild things in Kata, because anything in Wrath that wasn't the way they wanted it to be was because of their version of like spaghetti code. And so much of Kata gameplay-wise was what it was because they were rebuilding the game underneath. And so there was major technological moves forward that have like allowed the game to do things, and 14's never done that. They don't slow content down for anyone. So like we don't have an off expansion where they're like, okay guys, we're just going to have it off 2 years, and like 6.0 is just going to be bad so that we can rebuild all this code, but 7.0 will be amazing, bear with us. Like WoW's now done that. I mean, based on everything we just see with Shadowlands, I think WoW's done it twice. It was doing it during BFA, and it was doing it during Cataclysm, where there are these rebuilding years where they're trying to put out content, and then WoD they were doing it midway, but that was an accident, it seems. So it seems like 2.5 times they've had like major construction going on while people are live in the game. And the only time 14 did that was during 1.0, and the game went offline to do it.
And not even like the major construction for that, but just like certain things that change based on expansion. So you have, you know, everything for Wrath, and then like you said, like Kata changed a lot, you know, gameplay-wise and mechanically, and it just seemed like an off expansion. But at the same time, WoW's had, so 14 has changed from ARR going from 1.0 to 2.0, right? So there were all of those big changes, UI-wise, like character-wise, race-wise, like all of that stuff. But for WoW, it was for Kata, where they were just like, okay, we're going to completely redo all of these areas. And a lot of people hated it, and I don't think there's been anything in, correct me if I'm wrong, in 14 that they've done that way. That they've had an expansion and just been like, okay, we're going to completely redo these areas. This has been you know, destroyed by the Cataclysm, so now it looks like this. And there's no way to see how it was before unless you do time walking. You know what I mean?
No.
Have they done that for 14? I don't know, because I haven't played the whole time.
Ishgard will actually be the first time that we have something that, like, you have like Roman Enclave and stuff and some instance things, like where we kind of do it as part of like a storyline, but like Dome and Enclave is the one thing where like through no action of your own, you won't get to go back and see what it looks like. A new player will never know what the rebuilding looks like. They will show up and they'll go, yeah, it was built. And then that's it. Like there won't be anything else. And then the 1.0 Cataclysmic event was massive, and Yoshi-P has cleared up time and time again. Every time it comes up as a question, the answer is no, we will never redo it. It was something for those players to enjoy. It was specifically of its time, and I have no interest in bringing it back. It's not even a time in 14's history I want to relive.
Right.
It's like, I understand the significance and I'm glad it happened. I don't want to go back. And so that's been his kind of feelings towards that. And I think as a result, like we don't ever, I think they're afraid to do that. And so that's why all of our systems kind of either get constant support or they die off. The companion system kind of in a way gave way to squadrons, but they didn't get rid of companions.
When did the companion system come out?
So it got a rework internally during Stormblood, but we had companions in ARR. I have no idea what was in The Realm Reborn. Squadrons, I feel like, was later. I feel like Squadrons might have been Heavensward. I could be wrong. That's part of the Grand Company system. And then Squadrons gave way to Trusts this expansion.
And people actually really like Trusts too.
I could be wrong. I don't know about Squadron. I've done them. It's not a system that I've engaged with really heavily. I used to go there every day and just kind of like train them, but that's about it. I kind of treat them like an extension of my retainers. And like my companion, I always forget to get it out because for so many years you weren't allowed to have it out in like so many pieces of content. And so like I've been playing since ARR and my Choco's still not at cap because like I did dailies today and didn't have my Choco out. Like I just forget.
Right. So Gwydion is asking if companions were a thing in 11 as well. I don't know because I haven't.
So 11 has the trust system. So like that's a whole nother level.
Okay.
So like 11 is where we got trusts from. As a matter of fact, 11 at this point, 11's going more single player than it's ever been before. And trust, I think the objective is trust to do that to 14. I think what they're realizing is we have to constantly build these systems like roulettes so that new players come in and can make it through the story because the group content's required. We have to constantly incentivize existing players through things like we have to dangle tomestones in front of them or experience in front of them, or they won't go back and help new players get through this stuff. And like that's a problem WoW doesn't have because the dungeons aren't required. And so I think Trust is a technology that allows them to say, you know what, if you don't ever want to run Shadowbringers dungeons again, fine, don't. It's okay. Like, we're not going to leave new players totally in the dust. So when the Trust system got added, I thought it was cool. But what I was most excited about is what that means for Shadowbringers content in 6.0, in 7.0, in 8.0. When this game becomes secondary to some FF18 online, and we're all playing that, and people are like, but I want to go experience 14.
And there aren't any queues?
There aren't, yeah. It's a 9-hour wait for a DPS queue. Like,
so what do you think about, I know it will be a lot of AI, and not necessarily as much PvP, but you know, one of the main differences between WoW and 14 is the PvP. Like, there's more of a fan base for PvP for WoW.
Sure.
And the game and the system and the way the cooldown works is built more around PvP rather than PvE content. But what if there was a way to queue with like 2 AI or something like that for PvP? So, and that would be the max, like for 14, just to have like a quicker queue, maybe to get more people into it that are like playing a DPS. I know it would be more of like a PvE situation, and
I think there's a simpler solution. So I think you could just more directly lift from WoW in that way. So what WoW does is when you queue, it says how many healers are available.
Right.
And then that's how many healers you get. So if there are 6 healers available, it'll put 3 on each team. If there are 2 healers available, it will put 1 on each team. And so it just says the parties need to be balanced. Beyond that, I don't care.
Right.
And
yeah,
and if you're not going to do that, then you need like an adventure or need. Just tell me. The fact that when I join PvP, if it's waiting on something, it doesn't tell me. It's like, okay, I have all my jobs beyond 30. Like, what do you want? You want DPS? Like, just tell me. I just want a faster queue. If there is a way to speed this thing up, tell me how.
Yeah, that's true. But I was just thinking more along the lines of
there are some AI type PvP components in WoW, but like WoW didn't add those to shorten queue times. WoW added those to add a new mode.
Yeah, right. Because people would ignore other things that they were supposed to do anyway and just kill people. And then it was funny because they tried to correct that by adding the things that were more PvE oriented, and then people still didn't do those. And then they gave us Temple of Katmogu, and they were like, okay, here's some orbs that you can pick up So if you grab these orbs, you do more damage, and the whole point is that you're literally just going to hit people. This is what you wanted, here you go. And then they went back to having like more of those PvE aspects. But I feel like even unless you do, what is the name of the arena type PvP for 14? I'm drawing a blank. I know that BGs are like front lines, and I forget what the arena is called because I've not done it once.
I'm drawing a blank. I don't do it. I've done it, but I don't.
Chat? Wolves Den is the place.
Wolves Den's the place. That's your battle hall.
But the actual, like, if you were going to do, like, twos for arena...
Feast. Thank you.
Yes, feast. Yes, okay.
That way. Thank you. Yeah, feast.
I forgot where I was going with that because I was so worried about
the cues are so slow. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's one of the bigger things, and I don't know, like, I don't even know if chat has a reason.
You can change job in the zone, so what you queue as doesn't matter, but not in feast. Like if you queue for feast, you have to be that's balanced by jobs, right?
Yep.
Those are balanced comps. And so feast is something that would have faster queues if they told me what they wanted. Yeah, you're right. I mean, in the bigger ones, one of the things I do appreciate about WoW PvP that wouldn't be a WoW PvP thing is that they later went back and said there's content that we've let die, and they created a new roulette for all of the world PvP stuff. Mm-hmm. And like, I really hope that when we have, say, a third Eureka, right? If we consider Boja the second one, I would love for there to be a roulette that puts you into things like Castrum and stuff like that, where like there's a way to put us into Baldesion Arsenal, Castrum, whatever this new thing is, like put those in a roulette long term, to let people experience those. Because having to go find a Discord and grind up to it, like that's not sustainable long term compared to just like inviting people to come in and try those. And they won't be as hard as they were.
Because it's died already. Because everyone's, for the most part, finished what they needed to do, so there like aren't enough people in Bajra right now.
It's community driven now, and like a lot of times it has to center on something. Exactly. So it has to center on like a streamer that wants to do it, or a raid group that wants to do it, like a static, or you know, like somebody, or there has to be somebody willing to organize it, or somebody that wants to do it and somebody else is willing to organize it for them. That's the only ways it gets run now. Mm-hmm. And like, Castrum's already getting that way, and it's new.
Right,
it's
that's what I was saying.
Content.
Like, I was going to ask if you remember anything from WoW that's been content that was introduced like during an expansion that lost momentum that quickly. And I like Castrum. I like the whole idea of Bajra, but just the idea that it was introduced in a recent patch. I can't even think of...
Islands died during BFA. They were new to BFA and they were dead in BFA.
Of what?
Islands.
Oh, yeah, the islands.
Yeah, see?
But the thing is, too, is it's just like, they didn't like prioritize those. Like, they didn't do well promoting it, I don't think. Like, there weren't good enough, like, there wasn't good enough loot that you would get from it, in my opinion. Like, it could literally just hope for, like, the weekly, and that's it. Islands.
My understanding is that,
Ashran. Like, I liked Ashran. I
think Castrum is still. I think Castrum is still being run in Discords. Somebody said there's a Discord that runs it daily. So like, but like the fact that it's already dropped to that is a bad sign, because what happens when the people organizing that decide that they'd rather focus on whatever the new thing is, right? Because we are getting a new thing soon. So like, what happens when they want to run that? Are they still going to split their time and run Castrum for people? Like, it just. It's a lot to ask of something that the game could have handled better, you know, and still could. Like, we could still absolutely add a roulette for this and make sure that it's content that's kind of scaled to a roulette.
Right.
There's ways to do that. It doesn't need to be like I don't think it needs to be like Ultimate, where it's not world proc, so like we're not locking something behind it. If you want to have a title tied to running it properly, then do that. Like, that's fine. Right. And you have to go be the right level in the zone and get your group together. But like, there needs to be like a normal mode for casuals that are like, I never did Eureka, I've heard Baldesion Arsenal is great, I'd love to get a taste of it. Because it's a bummer to let content that big and that amazing just die. This game has so much good content, It's so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's about inviting people in. Like I don't know how many people have really done chocobo racing enough to like do at least one level of breeding.
Yeah.
Did you get to your first breeding?
No. I didn't even do that.
Like,
I think I literally did like the example, like when you first go in and it's like the chocobo race where I wasn't sure if you won by default, but it's literally like the very first one you do when you're unlocking. So that's the one I did. I don't know if you win by default.
But you do get paired against NPCs if players are not available, and the NPCs are relatively easy in my opinion, as long as you're managing your stamina.
Right. So I got in first, but I was just like, and nobody would tell me if it was because I actually did well, or...
It's a big system. Mog Talk with Frosty, he just did a podcast on it, I think 1 or 2 podcasts ago. You guys can go watch that, and he has people who like know a whole lot more about chocobo racing than I ever will. Right. Kind of sharing and talking about like the whole system. I mean, listening to it will make you want a chocobo race. That's a thing that happens. Thanks for getting called, Billy.
Yeah, I think I literally had done it at the time because someone wanted to give me glamour to have to look good while I race chocobos.
Okay.
Like, and that was it. And they're like, have you unlocked chocobo racing? And I was like, no,
I
haven't.
Chocobo, just as a creature.
Yeah, no, I do too.
I have a fat chocobo alarm clock back here, and I love chocobos.
Yeah. So Framsy was saying that, like, even though there are discords for things like that, like Castrum, and I know there are discords for like hunts and stuff too, and then there's a balanced discord, that they can sometimes be toxic environments as well. So it's not necessarily. I mean that's the problem with both means we community run, is because now you're forcing that overlap of expectations versus reality with a number of people, and you're doing it outside of the confines of the game. So like, you are inviting friction. Right. Somebody's going to not let it run, and it's going to be a mess. I mean, you're talking about complete strangers on the internet getting into a situation that is like everybody in your family staying in one house and trying to agree to where to go to lunch the day after Thanksgiving. Like, it's not going to happen. So it doesn't shock me. It's a bummer that that's already happening. Mm-hmm. I would hope that originally, like, there's still a lot of excitement to kind of mask that. You'd hope so. But it's
have you done any of the diving stuff tied to Ishgard?
The Ishgard restoration stuff, you mean?
Uh-huh.
I've done some. I did like one of the big fates right for the first patch when they introduced it, when it was like really popular, where you had to like go and grab stuff from one pile and then put it in like a different pile and do everything together. So I did like 1 or 2 of those, and then I leveled getting...
Fetch quest rating.
Yeah, it was crazy because I had no idea, like, I didn't know that they locked people out either. Like, if you weren't in the area quick enough, I was like, okay. And that was something that I kind of thought would be neat if they did for WoW. Like, I just like the crafting and gathering better in 14
AQ
regardless.
I mean, it wasn't like that, but AQ was nuts.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, but I didn't take part in it. So, but yeah, so I did that, and then I did some of the crafting and gathering through it where you had to go get, like, the Sky Builder stuff and things like that, but I haven't done a lot of it recently. It was just like right when it released. I did some of those fates and stuff. But that's something I would like to see in WoW, if I really get the hankering to really play again.
My concern is that they did a lot of things to streamline crafting and gathering to make Ishgard something more people could participate in, which means that to anybody who liked the complexity and the depth and the amount of experience, if they spun up an alt, that it took, the amount of time it took, the amount of resources it took to level up, if somebody enjoyed that, even if they made the 1 to 50 or 1 to 60 grind so that people could get closer to cap easier, the fact that they liked how long 70 to 80 took, and it wasn't that long, and they liked all these things, those people got stuff removed, and then like my concern was, and it was all to let people into Ishgard. That was the whole thing, and my concern was, you've made an expansion long piece of content, and you've made a entire system-wide decision. What happens after Ishgard? Like, I'm loving crafting right now, having a blast.
Right.
I'm enjoying, this gathering is really relaxing, and I feel like it's adding to my crafting, so like it feels productive. It's what I'm doing this moment, and like that's great. This is going away. So like, are we gonna have to build a city every expansion now? Because now you have an entire system that like is dependent on having a big project assigned to it. Because as a system on its own, it no longer has 2 legs. We removed one of those to streamline it to get people into Ishgard.
Unless they get rid of the system completely and get rid of the like crafting and gathering leaderboards until we do something like that, or pick like different leaderboards for crafting and gathering for like a certain material, or like the toughest thing that you could possibly craft and make it like really like super difficult, or like something that's super rare, or it's really hard to get like a really good durability, and have like a leaderboard for that, and just not do another rebuilding. And then this is just kind of like they saw that crafting and gathering needed a rework, and so they were able to get more hype around the rework by actually having Ishgard Restoration be a thing. And now, since it's had the rework, you know, once Ishgard Restoration is done and they do the housing, if that is definitely still their intent, then just take it away.
Well, people are going to rage if there's no Ishgard housing. Yeah. People are going to rage if there is Ishgard housing if it's limited supply.
Right.
If it's not instance, it's already just prepare to be heartbroken, guys. Because relative to the number of people that want a house in Ishgard, there will never, ever be enough unless it's instanced.
Right. And then, or like Nino was saying, like have a bi-monthly crafting contest or something, or make it into just an event like how they have like the Heavens Turn.
Like the Triple Triad tournaments.
Yeah. And that way, so that you still have leaderboards, you still have events, and then you can implement like the extra materials like this so that it's easier to do stuff like that. But have it be as this sole system, have that be like a well, you had to be there moment. Like, I've been playing since we were doing Ishgard Restoration, and this was what you were able to do. And they fixed the crafting and gathering systems that way. They pruned it the way that they wanted to prune it, and they made other things like tougher that they wanted to make tougher, and then that's it. Like, it did what it... The system served its purpose, and I don't think...
Because once we're done building a city, this is literally just leaves.
Yeah.
So we nerfed an entire system to add a quest type that it already had.
Yeah, pretty
so like
much.
At a gameplay level.
So that more people can take part in it at once.
Building the city is the only thing that changed. Otherwise, we already had leaves.
Right.
We were already turning in things that collectability was a factor. So like, we already had scripts, we already had cosmetics tied to it. We have gained nothing except the ability to invite in more people to be part of this big event. So once the event is gone, there's no reason for people who don't like crafting and gathering to do it, because that's what it did. It invited in people who don't like crafting and gathering. Hopefully, a few of them were like, I didn't think I'd like it, and now I do. Because that's the one win. That's the one thing that long term the community gained, is if there are people who would not have crafted. But for that, we also have to question, like, are there people who liked crafting and gathering as it was and now don't, right? So what's that math equation? Did we lose a total number of gatherers and crafters? Like, what's the amount of joy, if we could quantify that?
That's true.
Is there more or less crafting joy in the game? Ideally, there's more. Yeah. Like, ideally, the community as a whole came out ahead.
And that's cool, because that's, I mean, more of what it's based on, is they're doing community events and making sure that people do things together. And one of the things that I actually kind of dislike is, like, if I'm like leveling an alt or something, and I'm not, you know, going into like the deep dungeons or whatever, or only like leveling through my roulettes, because I actually like to go out onto the map and like pick up quests that I didn't do previously, is you don't see a lot of people unless you're in a big city. And so one of the things that Nino was suggesting was it would be cool if you had a crafting fate, where you had to go and that would be neat, because it would get more people out into the world. You could, you know, go to this one area, have it be timed, you have to meet there, you have to collect certain things out in the world, bring it back. That would be cool.
Super cool tech.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't know how they would implement it, or if people would do it. But I mean, people do hunt trains.
I mean, we have crafting and gathering beast tribes, so I think you could easily...
and beast tribes.
Because of bicolored gemstones and stuff, it tells you and because of the memories, it tells you they're not done messing with fates. So it's not like that's a fixed thing. The free action time event is not a static thing. And so, like, there is no rule against saying there are these other fates that you can see when you're on a crafter and gatherer, and you go out in a zone, and, you know, maybe because there's less people, it's a different zone each day, or maybe it's only the one zone that's tied to the crafter gatherer beast tribe. Like, you know, they can adjust as needed, but like, it would be neat to see crafting and gathering fates moving forward. Expert recipes are something that I haven't really gotten into yet, and like, hopefully that's something moving forward. So like, it's not that we can't come out ahead, it's just that my initial concern hasn't been totally abated until we see what happened. What does the term end of Ishgard rebuilding mean? Like, what's left? Is it just quests? What are we paving the path for there to be another one, which obviously would ideally be mentioned as some part of a February 5th or later announcement? Like what? It's just I want to know, right? I'm just being nosy.
No, yeah, no, it would be. And actually, I had Maples had said that one thing he would like to see Final Fantasy adopt is that he thinks that WoW has more actual meaningful loot. That currently all gear in Final Fantasy are just stat sticks, where in WoW you can grab like legendaries and set bonuses that can modify abilities and change how your class plays, which is
they effectively have 200 relics across all their specs, and those all have like there's a grind component to get them, and so like you pick the one that best fits you. So there are different ones, even for the same class and spec, like there are different options. And of course people are going to optimize and they're going to say, well, you really only can consider this one or this one, but like even just from a collector standpoint, that still leaves a lot to do. I think it's neat. And you can have people complaining, oh, well, this relic's best for PvP, this one's for PvP. It opens a lot of discussions, as opposed to right now, you get your relic, and as long as you're not like running extremes or anything, that's kind of your best in slot, and then you just leave it, and then if you get your 7 raid tokens, consider it. But otherwise, like, just keep your relic for the whole expansion, you're probably fine. And so it is very flat.
But not even just like your relic, like so just with like legendaries, the way they had those in WoW, and then tier sets in WoW, you could gain like an extra ability, or an ability would do something different. Like back in the day for a tier set in Mist, I think it was, your one of the abilities for Fire Mage was like a flame patch, but you only got it if you spec'd into it. And so you could have like, oh, if you cast a, Pyroblast, it throws down a flame patch if you have this full set, which is kind of cool. So something like that, maybe. Like if your full crafted set, not only could you pentameld it and had like all of the best stats going into a raid, but what if it gave you like an extra ability or an enhanced to your ability?
And I think right there, what you're starting to talk about is like, if you want to talk about in Final Fantasy terms, you don't want them to just copy WoW, right? Like, what is their version of that? We looked at our Final Fantasy games for examples of things that would fit within this feel of a game, and like subclass starts to become one of those terms, right? How do I alter my class slightly? And maybe when you're in group content, the subclass falls off. Maybe it's just something for when you're out in the world or for when you're in certain types of content. But like, you could absolutely screw with the way people, right? Like, maybe that's something we learned from Limited Job. Maybe that's something we learned from Boja. I bet Brian really loves that Boja system. Just a couple of abilities, just a little bit of flavor, and it's only in that one type of content, right? We can get Protect back, but only sometimes. And so, like, there is that kind of really nice touch there, and you could bring that back through set bonuses. You could kind of say, okay, and in this type of content, when you're alone, right, you can have your companion out, you can have your chocobo out, and you have this other ability, you have this other action, right? Just like in Diadem, we have a missile launcher. Like, you have this other thing, and that's based on the gear you choose to bring or the crafting thing you choose to meld onto it or whatever that is.